Welcome to the Back 9 Six-Pack with Mitch and Justin. Let's roll.
Hello and welcome to episode 65 of the Back 9 Six-Pack. My name is Mitch, joined as always by my esteemed colleague Justin. We spent a lot of time talking about how Ryan was hurt and not injured.
Oh my God.
I gotta tell you, dude, I'm hurt.
I'm emotionally, physically,
Mentally,
maybe
even spiritually.
gastrally. Like, it's all of them. It's bad.
Yeah. Just cut straight to it. Neither of us won the Stampede, so
No.
that's that.
Yeah, no big surprises.
So that part hurts, but then the damage on top of that.
I mean, you just get after it. Like, everybody just gets so after it behind the greens watching the shootout, and I did not spare my body. So, I mean, that's the real problem. Like, and on top of being disappointed in how I played, it's just, and then, like, I had this, like, weird feeling, like, driving home from work today. I was like, dude, these are the dog days of summer. Like, not a lot to look forward to. You're kind of like 90-degree weathered out. Our big weekend's out of the way. It's truly daunting. It might just be the day, like the day that I'm having and we're having, but it's daunting.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. We kind of talked about that too, of like this was sort of, typically the peak of summer, right, is this event for us. And
Yep.
Now that you're on the other side of it, the day after, there's a little bit of that hangover.
Mm-hmm.
Both real and figurative hangover. We just sat here for like 2 minutes and we're just laughing. Like it's like a true like slap happy. Just like how are we down this bad situation?
Truly don't know how I got out of bed this morning and like actually went to work.
Yeah,
and then somehow I was like an adult. Like I did some stuff around the house. I'm like, who is this guy? Because I did not like I still am down very, very bad. So
the brain fog was real, and I thought I was getting better, but then I pulled up here and I was just sitting in the car waiting for you, and I was like, I might not have hit bottom yet. I might still be bottoming out.
Bottom might be tonight, like laying in bed.
Yeah, it could
and I
be.
did Chipotle for dinner night. Like, what am I thinking, dude?
You're not thinking. That's for
like,
sure.
What is wrong with me?
That's bad.
Bad.
Well, if you're listening, this might be a little bit of a cathartic experience for us. So thank you for listening. Please subscribe, rate, and review the show. That helps us out a ton. We're going to get to a little fan mail segment, I think, at the end of the episode here. We're going to slot that in after Patio Beers. A few of you did reach out to send us text. If you look in the show description, there's a link there. You can text us. One thing I will say, I know who one of the people is because I have their phone number. They don't come through with a name. So if you do want to get a shout out on the pod, which we are more than happy to do, just drop your name in the text as well, so we can identify you. But yeah, we'll get to those in a bit. So
we need height and weight in those too, so we can
sure
check you in as a fighter.
Yeah, verify it's really you. I had to start here because this was probably maybe not the best thing that happened this weekend, certainly the funniest thing that happened this weekend, and really was just a matter of time before you were retweeted by Old Takes Exposed.
Oh my God, dude. Oh, my Twitter was on fire last night. Like yesterday evening, like when we were watching the shootout, I'm like, oh shit, Mitch. They found my tweet about Xander. Calling him soft as Charmin. Dude, I took it that's what you don't understand about Twitter, right? Like they think they're, being mean to me and like, calling me an idiot. I'm like, dude, I wore it on the chin. I'm like, I'll own it. It was a terrible take. I was wrong. I was dead wrong about him.
So just in case nobody or people didn't see this, one, go check out at Old Takes Exposed, and you'll see our boy up there retweeted. But two, you were responding to a Brentley Romine tweet, which I guess Xander was asked about Keegan being Ryder Cup captain, and so they kind of talked Ryder Cup. So the quote that he gave that you were responding to was Xander saying, taking a bunch of photos all dressed up. There's 2 or 3 dinners that we have to go to that are kind of mandatory. And I think if we cut it down to 1 or 2 versus 3, that would be a really big deal. To which you replied, no wonder his only major will be Valhalla. This guy could never win anything remotely challenging like Augusta, U.S. Open, or an Open with bad weather and wind. Soft as Charmin Softest Charmin in all caps.
Oh.
Just an amazing.
How
amazing
quickly did
tournament
that
events.
fucking backfire on me? I mean, like, record time. Probably, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, barely 2 weeks. That was on July 9th.
And it would have been one thing if, like, the weather was not bad. Like, it's like, okay, he got good weather and he won. Oh, the weather was trash. It was absolute trash.
Yeah, it was like a true like one of the harder tests to have to survive and win. I mean, this thing's already up to like you're over 82,000 views on this thing.
Yeah, dude. I once that gets retweeted from them, Old Takes Exposed, all bets are off.
Somebody commented "aged like milk," to which you responded that you were owning it. You're taking the L, which is big of you. Also, you had to edit your tweet because when you sent that tweet, you misspelled "win," and so in your edited reply, somebody just put "L" with an asterisk. Which is funny.
That is so funny. Taking so many losses. I took so many losses yesterday on the golf course and off the golf course. It's
let me tell you.
Truly a banner day.
Like I said, this was just a matter of time. I can't believe it didn't happen sooner, honestly.
Yeah, I got some really hot takes out there that I'm sure at some point have backfired and no one found them. But this one was, I should have known because when I sent that out in the response to that, I got like 8 bookmarks.
Yeah.
So people were waiting. They were fucking waiting, dude. Oh, they were so he's so talented. I don't know why I didn't think he would actually I actually thought he would probably win another PGA. But I was dead wrong. Congrats to Xander. But God, dude. I looked down, I'm like, why do I have like 50 Twitter notifications or X notifications?
Oh God.
I open it up, I'm like, oh shit, he did win today. I'm like, oh no. I knew exactly the tweet that was found too, by the way.
Oh, it's so good. Oh man, I love that. That brought me great joy on a day that did not bring me too much joy. Outside of, we can move on to the Stampede now. Another Elks Hacker group win.
Yeah.
Group chat win.
They're part of the Club of Champions.
Connor and Derek, massive shout out. They came in second last year for anybody who followed along to last year's Stampede recap. And this year, no longer the bridesmaid, they were the bride. Yes.
Yeah, that's cool that they made it back and then ended up finally getting the win this year. It was, I had, we do pari-mutuel betting for the Stampede, like the shootout. And, dude, I looked up and I was like, I have 3 of the final 4 teams. And then that team was like hacking it around. I'm like, and then at that point, I'm like, okay, Derek, we want Derek and Connor to get this after last year, kind of little heartbreak maybe. But congrats to them. Derek drains of, what was that, 35, 40 footer on the second to last hole to move on. And dude, that was the loudest I've ever heard like that around the green when he made that putt.
Yeah, my one regret is I didn't take enough videos and pictures and stuff.
No.
Last year when Connor made a birdie on that same hole,
you took
to
a video,
move them
right?
on. I got the video of it, and I just would for whatever reason didn't get Derek's on camera. But yeah, I mean, and Connor on the first hole, Derek, he always hits driver on 1 red, same as you.
Hell yeah, that's why D-Rock's my guy.
He hit and normally hits a cut. It just went dead straight, and there's a lateral hazard straight through. He was able to play it out, but did not end up getting up and down for par. So, Connor with a really clutch par to get them to move on.
Yeah.
There were bogeys everywhere on that first hole. So,
oh my God. I was saying this behind the first green. I'm like, I don't remember the scores being this high on the first hole. Par's definitely a chip off. Birdie gets you through, but par's definitely, and bogey, you're out.
Yeah.
We made bogey last year, and now there was 5 teams that had bogeys that were in a chip off.
Yeah.
And then, shout out to Greg, Connor's dad. Little heartbreak on the first hole. We've all been, and we were talking on the way home. We went home after celebrating our win, and I was like, dude, trust me, I know exactly how you feel. People are going to talk about it. It's going to take a while to get over. And he had even admitted that. He's like, yeah, he missed a 2-footer to definitely move on. They get a chip off, don't make it. But
yeah, so 2 things on that. One, because I've been in that spot before where you literally have to wait for almost 20 other guys to finish the hole out before you get to go hit a 2-footer. And you just, all you can do is stare at there and just keep looking at it. and that stuff that happens. You can.
I mean, I remember the year we won on the first hole. Like, I had a 4-footer. Dude, it was between the time I chipped it up to that and when I had to putt it. I mean, it felt like an hour. It probably legitimately was like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was straight, maybe like a little break. And like, I was trying to find every different way to read it differently. Like, I don't know. So I know that feeling. It sucks.
Yeah.
You almost want to be the guy 30 feet away, lag it up, and you hit it to a foot and you just finish it out. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and the other part too is Guenth and I really wanted to make the third leg Greg chance happen really, really bad. So them not advancing was just like, I thought I was like, man, it's going to happen because I thought they were going to get through. But yeah.
Man, it's such a grind. That whole weekend, like going through 5 matches and then going through like the whole shootout it's an absolute grind.
Yeah.
And we talked about it last week. Like, you need a little bit of luck, a little bit of, you got to have some grit. It just takes it takes like the perfect combination of things, right?
Yeah, and I do think this was the first year that we played in it where we didn't have like any kind of weather delay. So we got all 5 matches in, straight in the shootout, all that.
Yeah.
And I felt more tired after this year's than I did any of the other 3 that I played in.
Yeah.
For some reason. And I don't know if there's a correlation between those 2 facts, that we didn't have like a break in between or any of that stuff.
And that might be part of it because we've always had a rain delay. So maybe you got that little break that kind of like recharged the batteries, and we didn't have that.
No. I think probably part of it too is like every single match we were in was like an absolute grind, and it just is so hard and wears you out.
That's how, like, we had one match where it was like we took control. They weren't playing too great. We were playing good enough, and it was like, okay, kind of sailed it in, right? Like, it wasn't like a grinder, but like the rest of the matches were just absolute, like, oh, we're coming in the last hole and it's tied. Oh, we're down 1. It was just, and I think I said this about our second match. It was like, I felt bad. We were kind of playing slow, but I'm like, every putt mattered. Like, we were all in the hole, and every putt mattered. So it's like, usually if you get a couple guys out, like, all right, you're in the pot. Okay, 2 people playing, that's going to go fast, right?
Yeah.
It was just a grind. I will say, when I got home Saturday, I was like worn down, absolutely worn down.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I probably didn't do myself any favors. We had the wedding Saturday night, and I had mucho gold tops when I was not intending to do that.
Me too.
So
not
that probably
at the wedding, but
that didn't help. But it's just, it is. I mean, it's our favorite weekend, but it's I know we're all playing golf and it's for fun or whatever. But dude, it wears you down.
Oh yeah,
it's hard to stay locked in for 45 holes.
I think everybody out there is like pretty competitive, and it's like you want to win, right? Like you don't want to lose. No one wants to lose.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, and I don't know. Like this year, there were a couple outlier flights, but like for the most part, it's like, man, there was a lot of flights that was just like 2-3 teams that were like going into the last match. And our flight, like, if the first 2 matches, I think everybody either tied or lost 5-4 the first 2 matches, and that's how like big of a grind it was, and it seemed very competitive throughout most flights. Maybe some people might end up on Yip Strickler's radar. Someone from our club. It's so funny when like someone gets beat and they automatically come in. This dude's the biggest sandbagger. It's like, well, what'd you shoot? Well, I mean, I shot 48. Well, you're not going to win a lot of matches shooting 48.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I know. I don't know if I have it in me for that conversation right now.
Yeah, I don't, but it had to be mentioned.
We've talked about that last year, I think, especially, and you were the top of your flight. You guys played a lot better than we did. We were the top of our flight. It's just a hard spot to be in.
It's a super hard spot to be in.
You're already making an uphill climb, especially you in your case, where some of the, red, you give back 3 shots on that side. There's literally 3 holes that you're basically out of the hole.
Yep, in my pocket.
Yeah. So, like, for me, I had no pop. I was either giving 2, 3, maybe 1 in one case shots to people. There was maybe 1 or 2 times that Guenth had the most strokes, so he would get a pop on like 1 hole out of our 5 matches that mattered. So I don't know, it's just tough. And then, you know, we didn't have our best stuff, but there was, I think I texted this to you guys. I was like, either I'm like the world's shittiest 7 handicap, or like these, you know, 8 to 10 handicappers that I'm playing against can just like really turn it on and, you know, play well when they have to.
I mean, you know where I stand at that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's odds out there, and we don't have to talk about that. But like, some of the scores I'm hearing from like 10 handicaps, I'm like, dude beat the whole first flight. Like,
right.
I came in, I think, so like the whole weekend, I was like, I figured it out, like 5 or 6 under gross, but I was net over par because of the shots I gave back. And I hear like these, you know, 7th flight, like, oh yeah, guy shot 34 gross. I'm like, the 2 scratch golfers I just played with against didn't even do that from the same tees. I'm like, that's when I'm like, that's interesting. You know?
So okay, so we'll just kind of get into it now, I guess. Friday night, putting contest night, Calcutta night, just chill, hang, whatever.
Yep.
Guenth and I traditionally play a 9-hole practice round just to get out there and vibe and, you know, get a feel for things. I went out and careered it.
Yeah.
I shot a 32 with 5 birdies and a bogey. I don't know that I've ever had 5 birdies in an 18-hole round. I had 9 putts. I went and like did the, you know, the app, what is it called? Cap Patrol?
Yeah, Cap Patrol.
You can put it in there, like you can put in someone's handicap and the score that was shot, and it gives you like a sandbagger rating and like tells you the odds of it.
Essentially, yeah.
I put that in there for myself. So a 32 is a 7 handicap. And it was like the odds are impossible. 10 out of 10 sandbags for me having done that. Which is to say, I don't think I'll ever do that again. Like
ever.
No, I think that's going to be my low 9-hole round, especially on our course.
Yep.
And I just like, everything just worked. It was just, didn't have to think about anything. Walked up, putts were dropping, center of the fairway, hitting good shots on the green. Like everything just happened.
Yeah.
And it felt like a version of that happened to me like 3 times this weekend. Like,
yeah. And I guess we don't really deal with that much in the first flight because like no one's getting a lot of shots anyway. You know, I guess the only time it would happen is if someone came into our flight and was playing at like a 3 or 4, and they're out there shooting 33. Like,
right.
Then you could have a sandbag. I was kidding with Joe that he was a sandbagger, but he's all like, I'm like, dude, people are gonna look up and he was getting a little mad because he's like, people are gonna think I'm a sandbagger.
Who,
and I'm
Joe,
like,
are you talking about Joe Early?
Yeah.
He's the biggest sandbagger at the Elks.
But it's so funny. I'm like, dude, they're gonna look up your handicap and see you as a plus, and
that's why it's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, we just don't deal with. I mean, in the first flight, hardly ever do you deal. I don't think in the 4 years I've ever been like, okay, that guy getting 2 shots or 1 shot, like that's too many. You know what I mean? Because realistically, you get a 4 handicap, 3 handicap go out there, like they can shoot 33.
Yeah.
34. You know, that's not completely impossible. So,
right. Yeah.
It might be the only flight that doesn't deal with like some sandbagging allegations, I would say.
That's probably true. Yeah. So yeah, look, we came in, I shot 32 on Friday. Everything feels great. I do the putting competition for the first time after being badgered about it. Tied for second place.
The second time around, you tied for second place.
Yeah, the first time
it was rough.
The first time, I think I beat myself by 17 shots. Well, I had the one hole where I just repeatedly refused to like take a different line. And I was like,
kept pounding it. I'm like, hit it differently.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. But I don't know. I felt good going into Saturday, and our first match, we just did not get off the bus.
Yeah.
Like, we did not win a hole until the last hole.
That's tough.
And we were just like, oh, would you like points? Here's a point for you. Like on repeat, we were just like both in pocket. We're both OB. Just everything bad that happened.
Yep.
Come in the second match and totally flip the script. So we get beat 6.5, 2.5 the first one. We flip the script, beat someone 6.5, 2.5, and we're like, all right, we're back in. We're 2 points behind the team leading our flight, third leg Greg's team, and we're playing them that afternoon. So that was like our match. Like this was the moment to like
okay, you get a win here, even if it's 5-4, you're right back in it.
Yeah, and it was an absolute meat grinder of a match.
Yeah,
just back and forth, fighting for halves. You know, we love Greg loves us, but it was like, it just felt like every single time any of us had a putt, it was like just far enough outside of the friend zone where like we're making each other putt these out. Yeah, and it's just like, we thought we had them, we were down by 1. We thought we had them dead to rights on 9 red, and Alan makes an all-world up and down from just short of the putting green over the green.
No.
Makes like a 6 foot, like chips it to 6 feet, which is impressive on its own,
incredible.
And then makes the putt. And we were like, we just knew it was trouble because Greg gets a pop on, we were ending on hole 2, and that was where he gets a pop there. So we're like, we're so done. And yeah, so ended up we pressed on 1, guns behind a tree, tries to go up and over, shanks it into the shit right where your drive ended up last year in the Stampede.
Jesus.
So I'm on my own, and I hit a wedge, and it hops to the back and is on the downslope, and I just was like, didn't even get it on the green from there, just flubbed a chip. Long story short, we end up what was probably like should have been a tie, or we could have won, to losing 5.5, 3.5, and then essentially being done in our flight. Thought we could go get the wild card. Again, 2 meat grinder matches on Sunday. We end up 1-4, no halves, 1 win, 4 losses. Tied for last in our flight. Just wasn't good. We weren't good enough.
Well, it's a common theme, right? Everything was grinded out. Like our first match, we come out of the gate. I'm giving up a shot on that hole. I hit it down there. They had a replacement in our flight because a guy, ended up getting sick, couldn't play. He comes out of the gate, pounds a driver, hits it to like 12 feet. I've got like 5 feet for net par. So I'm like, look, he misses this, I make it. Let's move on with a half. Drains a snake. And you're like, okay, here we go. Guy gets a replacement. He's just he's playing with house money. I think our Men's Golf Association said they'd sponsor him because he was nice enough to step in literally on Friday night to play. Mm-hmm. But then, we birdied 2. We get it back to even, and then we went on a run. Like we won 2, 3, and 4. It was like, okay, now we're up 2 points. We get on 5, and he gets the replacement got a pop, smothers it. He's out of the hole. The other guy ends up draining like a 20-footer to have the hole, and then all of a sudden they went on a run. We get to 9, and it's tied. Like it was just like out of nowhere. Like it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
Ryan drains like a 45-footer to win, but then it's like okay, we're back on track. But dude, that hangover led into the next match. And us not making it out of our flight boils down to one thing. We did not play the par 5s well at all. Too many par. Like in our flight, if you par 5, it's a loss. Or you're lucky that it's a half.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where birdies are halves on par 5s, and we lost so many par 5s, and we went into it and this is our game plan, play the par 5s well, because that's we're longer than most people in our flight. That's our advantage, and we did not play them. I don't know how many par 5s we lost, but I bet out of 10 par 5s we played all weekend, I bet we lost 5 of them.
Yeah.
And we probably halved 3 of them and maybe won 2 of them.
Yep.
It was just, we could just never figure it out, and we weren't in bad positions. It was just the last couple shots, it was trying to get a putt in the hole and, trying to get an easy chip up there, and it was just we could never figure it out. And you lose by a half point, you go back, and it's like if we just win one or have one of the times we lost, we're in, and we had the tiebreaker and all that, but we didn't get off to a good start on Sunday. Ryan was hurt. He didn't talk for like 3 holes. Like he's just moping around, and we just got off to a bad, and we took one of our few losses on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Our worst loss on record, by the way. We've only lost 5-4. We lost 5.5, 3.5, and it just put us behind the 8 ball going into the last match.
Yeah.
And then the worst part about it so we end up winning our last match. We had it in control. Shout out to Tom and Mark, Tom Cerisi, who's a listener. Fun match. They kind of made a little bit of a comeback. We kind of had control. Then they make a comeback, and we end up going in. We win 5-4, and we're like, that's not going to be good enough. Then we start hearing rumors that Jared in our flight is taking it to the guys that we were behind, and it's like, okay, and we're starting to hear numbers fly out. Like, yeah, we talked to them on 9, and I think they already had 5 points. And it's like, start doing the math, you're like, well, if they have or win this hole, it's over. Like, we're going to be in. Mm-hmm. And we watched Jared 3-putt and Doug miss like a 7-footer for the half. Uh-huh. And at the time, we're like, we didn't quite know. It's like, okay, that might have meant something. We come in, we lose by a half point. It's like, and he starts doing the math, and he's like, oh, he felt bad. But I'm like, dude, it's on us. Like,
yeah, I mean,
half a point.
You get a half a point in any of the other,
and we
holes.
Missed so many putts yesterday. It was just disgusting. But shout out to Tom and Mark, man. We said it when we got done. It was like of all of our matches, like they played, like as opponents, they played the best of anybody that we played. I mean, it was they played really, really well. So
yeah. Just to update overall records, because you mentioned that. I mean, you guys were 3-1-1 this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 16-4-3 lifetime, just really, really strong. We were 1-4 this year, so our what looked like a strong record is now 9-5-4. Don't love that. So, gotta build a little bit next year. Get that win run number up. Yeah, I don't have much to add.
Let's do this. I'll ask you a question.
Sure.
I've done a lot of reflection today. So, like, going into next year, what's like the one thing that you're like, okay, this is what we need to be better at?
Well, this for sure. This year, like our off the tee game was pitiful. Like we got streak. There were a couple times where it was like it was good. Like the match we won was, I mean, Guenth just drove the shit out of it in that match. But outside of that, like at least one of us on every single hole, it felt like was out, like not out, but like was like punching out or like already scrambling based on their tee shot. You know what I mean? It's like we just got to find a way to like be in the hole from go.
Yeah,
we have to have more holes where we're both on the green, or at least trying to get one of us trying to get up and down, and somebody's putting for birdie. We just didn't putt for birdie very much.
Yeah,
collectively, and so that was that. I mean, game wise, that's for sure the focus.
Yeah,
that's always my problem. Guenth is a streaky driver most times. When he's really good, he's really good. But you know, I started in I forget what match it was in. I was hitting like legitimate slices, not just like block. You know, usually if I miss right, it's a block. I mean, I was slicing the ball.
Yeah. Oh.
Like we got lost with driver for a bit. So I think that's got to be the focus. And then even when I did hit a good drive, it's the same problem I've had really this year is like that 120 to 145 range has just been trouble for me for whatever reason. And it was like, all right, I have a wedge in my hand and miss a green. Don't get up and down, lose the hole, right? Like that.
Yep.
So even when I was putting myself in spots to take advantage and like do something, I just wasn't able to finish it. So I think that's kind of what happened to us mostly.
Yeah. I kind of broke it up between the two of us. So like for me, I've got to putt better. Like it's just that's what those matches, any match play. Like if you're making putts, and it doesn't even have to be a crazy amount, but if you just make like a couple in a match, it's demoralizing.
Oh,
for the other team.
We were on the flip side of that a lot. I got to tell you.
It's demoralizing. Like, if you're making, like, and I'm not saying you go up, like, I'm going to make everything, right?
Right.
But, like, you just got to, like, find a way to make one. And it's demoralizing.
I truly, like, I can think of maybe 5 or 6 times where we were already in the hole for par, and they're down to one person that can tie us. And it's like.
Drained.
It's like an 8-footer. And everybody made them. Nobody gave us one of those holes. You know what I mean? One of those holes where like you sneak out with a par because they're scrambling. I don't think we got a single hole won that way.
Yeah.
It just didn't. Everyone was just making putts on us.
Yeah. I can tell you this. The difference between Saturday and Sunday for us was definitely the putter, because Saturday, first match, I putted really well. I made a long putt. I made a couple birdie putts, and it's like, and even in our second match when we have, like, dude, I had birdie the last hole, and I made like a 10-foot birdie putt to have the match, and it was like, and in our third match, same thing, like putted pretty well, but yesterday was like that hole shrinks fast. Like when you start, and we had, the putts that I know in the past that we've made to kind of like really take control of a match, we had a bunch of opportunities, and it just. None of them fell. Yeah. Like it literally, I maybe one putt, I think, in our last match, maybe 2 from Ryan, that it's like they went in. It's like, okay, we can kind of take control now. But then we started missing putts again. It was like, it blew, our lead went away. All the you got to find a way to will the ball in the hole, and it's, and like I said, when you're putting, like on Saturday, the hole felt like a basketball hoop.
Yeah.
And on Sunday, it felt like one of those practice holes. So that's for me. But Ryan, on the flip side, like, for the most part, he stayed in the holes that I was giving shots up on. But there were a handful of them. It's like, we're counting on me to make birdie net par. And it's like, can't do that. Like, that can't. That's not going to happen. And one hole particular was one red. It was like both times he like bogeys it. Now, the one time it wouldn't matter, the guy birdied, but in our first match Sunday, they par, and they won the hole. So, but that for him is like, and just maybe not being hurt next year. I don't know what to say. Like, go to the doctor, dude, get it figured out. I don't know. Not much else to say. Yeah. And playing more golf. Like, he was, most everybody out there was in midseason form. He was probably stuck somewhere in May,
Right.
Still trying to figure things out and all that. So
yeah, we Guenth and I talked. We haven't fully debriefed, but we were talking a little bit during our last match, just as things were, we obviously knew we were out and all that.
Yeah.
And one, like, we have him tee off first. Like, that's our process.
Yep.
And look, I didn't hit driver grade either, so that's part of it too. But like, there were just so many times where the tee shot was just too bad that like I couldn't, I mean? Like it instantly put pressure on me, and I'm not driving it that good either. So it was just like,
yeah. Now you're like, oh shit, we need a ball in play.
So now it goes from like I'm already not really confident to like now it's like shit. I have to actually hit a good shot. Yeah. I had no wiggle room a lot of times, and he would admit that that's not really meant to be a criticism. That's just what happened. And then 2, he said the same thing. He's like, dude, I like have to play more next year.
Yeah. He got married.
And, he got married, traveled a bunch. Like life happens. Look, you've got 3 kids. I've got 2 kids. None of us are ever going to play as much as we want to be prepped for something like this.
No.
But there's ways that we can probably adjust how we approach golf leading up to this to maximize what we can.
Yep. So. Yeah. Well, I think a good start would be for you guys to get your wives out of town too. We talked about this. Maybe something next year where we got a frat house of guys.
This is such a bad idea.
It's not. It's a great idea. A lot of synergy in that house. I think it'd be fantastic.
I don't know. We'll take that offline.
You got to start by getting your wife and kids on a trip.
I mean,
like, you're not home much anyway. So like, what does it really matter? I mean, you're not really seeing them anyway.
No, that's true. But like Susie and the boys went out of town last year and we stunk almost the same.
Well, because we didn't have the fraternity house up and running.
Okay. Like I said, we'll take that offline. We'll figure something out there. Anything else on the Stampede?
No.
Sad it's over. Disappointed. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what else to say other than, I guess the shootout, I hit it to 2-9, thought I had a winner. And they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, there's a 1-9 up there already. I'm like,
yeah,
and then I hit my second ball to like 3-9 or 3-10 or whatever. I'm like, dude, any other year, like 3-something is a winner.
Yeah, we should probably go ahead. Shout out to Rob. I think he was the one that hit it there. Yeah. And he also wound up finishing second in the shootout in the Stampede. So
yeah,
it's a good weekend for him.
Big pot.
As well.
I think it was like $1,000 pot too.
Well, that's nice for him. And I guess last thing, just massive shout out to all the MGA guys and
seriously,
Doug and Greg and Steve and Jeff. Am I missing anyone?
And Sean the pro,
Sean and Bob and the staff, all at the course. Like it truly is the best.
It's like an all hands on decks,
like
tournament, and they never disappoint.
Yeah, and
John, the greenskeeper, dude, the course was absolutely freaking dialed this weekend. I mean, it is probably the best I've seen it since I've been a member.
Yeah,
truly,
it really was in excellent shape. Who picks the pins? Is that a Sean thing?
No, that's an MGA thing.
Okay.
They were naughty. There was probably half of them each day that was like, this is probably the hardest pin I've ever seen on this hole.
Yeah, that's the one thing I will say, and this is going to sound like sour grapes, I know, but like most of the field is a mid to high handicap player, and we're running the greens around a 12. I don't think we need all of the pins to be on edge.
They were, and it was like half. There was like, I would say half of them were easy or easier, and then the other half were difficult.
Yeah, we just don't have enough control of our golf balls to be able to be like, okay, I need to leave this so I have an uphill putt because I got on the wrong side of a few pins. Like I hit a good golf shot, but it wasn't the right golf shot.
Matters.
And you breathe on the thing, and you've got a 8-footer coming back up the hill just because you literally can't stop it.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's where we disagree at, because I'm like, I want relatively difficult pins for like half the holes, because I think that's going to get you the best team, right? Like that's going to, whoever's playing the best, that's going to prove who the best team is. If you have pins like that and you've got to put it where you have to put it.
Yeah. I mean, no,
just make miraculous shots,
I agree with you. I just, having done it myself and played with people that struggled on these things, like it's already long days.
Yeah, maybe that was why it was kind of a grind too. It was like, there was no really easy putts, on a lot of holes. It was, it was kind of, you're grinding it out from 3.5 feet.
Yeah,
with a putt breaking 3 or 4 inches, like. Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, is like because of the weather we've had leading into this too, we hadn't seen the course like this all season.
No, because it's been so hot, you really couldn't do that. You know what I mean?
I think it did. That was part of the reason I think I didn't play as well as I wanted, is just like trying to make that adjustment and trust it and like not psych yourself out about the pins and the speed, and it was really difficult for me. Yeah. I mean, it really was like mental warfare.
I think our golf course gets really, really difficult to play when it gets that dry and that firm and that fast. I mean, it becomes a shot, at least a shot harder when it gets that dry and firm.
Yeah. I mean, you got to start thinking about, bounces, landing areas.
Chipping's a lot harder.
Chipping is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that really
the course
wasn't
was
even
dialed. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It was like a good crispy.
Yes.
Like it was, we were talking about that on Saturday. It was like, I loved it. Like, loved every minute of it. For
sure. Yeah, and really, I don't mean for that to really be a criticism. My own personal experience, and then realizing there's probably a lot of people that had some 3 and 4 putts out there probably.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, again, congrats to our buddies Connor and Derek. Just an epic win. Glad we got to celebrate that with them. Had the champagne out on the green.
Awesome moment.
I think you got Connor with the beer shower.
I did.
I literally walked up to Derek and I was like, he was, coming in for a hug where I was like, buddy, I'm so sorry for what I'm about to do with you. And just went in for the hug and just dumped it down his back and all over the front of me too. So
perfect.
But yeah.
It was such a good scene.
It was so fun.
Congrats to those guys. I mean, they did really, really play well.
The final thing too is Connor is Greg's son, if we didn't mention that. And they had a really cool moment on the green, hugging it out. And
yeah, I saw that.
I'm a boy dad. I got a little choked up, not gonna lie. Father-son stuff gets me big.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was a good. I saw them over there, and then I saw, and you walked over. You're like, damn, that stuff gets me.
I was like, damn it, yeah.
Oh,
alrighty. Well, Stampede's over. See everybody next week or next year for that. On to the McGonigal Club Championship still in front of us. Yeah. We got some stuff still ahead.
Yeah.
So don't get too sad on me. It's too early to get sad.
Yeah.
I know.
It's hard.
I know. You and I are the same that way. I get it. Okay. We kind of talked Open Championship briefly. Xander winning. How do you feel about, I guess we'll say, Xander's, not just his season, but like career trajectory at this point?
Well, I mean, we've kind of had this feeling about a couple people, right? Like we've at one point, I think we felt like Justin Thomas was like, oh, he's going to take the next step of like get to like 4 or 5 majors.
Yeah.
Obviously, he has not done that yet. I mean, he's playing some truly incredible golf. Like it's good. It's really, really, really good. So, I mean, I would love to say, I mean, if you win 2 majors in a year, that's sick. I mean, that's just stupid good. There's not a lot of people have done that. That's a pretty elite club of people that have done that.
Yeah, and I like this for his career. Just it really feels like winning at Troon and an Open like that. Like, I was not a fan of the Valhalla setup. Didn't really feel like a legitimate major. It felt like maybe like an elevated event more than.
Mm-hmm.
So like him kind of, backing it up with this win, I think is big for his career. Also, Xander always felt like the guy, because he was forever just like, you could just book it on Sunday. He wasn't going to get there.
Yeah, it's like, oh, here comes a 73.
And I always had that feeling of like, if he could just get one, like,
might open the floodgates.
Just get that monkey off the back, and it might open the flood. And
it seems like we might be in that situation.
I think we could be. And it's interesting when you put it up next to Scotty in his run, because obviously Scotty tee to green is like truly like the comparison is 2000 Tiger.
Yeah.
But the difference is Xander is like, I think he's second in tour in putting.
Yeah, his putting has been so good.
And so when he's leveled up his driving distance, his accuracy, his iron play, the putting is coming along. Like, that's a really lethal combo, obviously.
Yeah, because he's always felt like a ball striker, and then now it's like, oh, he kind of figured out how to putt. And then when you see that stat, you're like, oh, now we know why he's won 2 majors this year. It truly comes down to putting in majors, especially when you're playing in weather like that. Like, you're going to have to make some putts, probably for par sometimes. And, yeah, he has really, like, his putting is superior to the peers that you would put in the same grouping as him, right?
Right.
Like your Scotty Schefflers, your Rory. Like, it's far and away better than their putting.
Yeah, and I think him getting the Open out of the way is big if you're looking at it from like a career Grand Slam perspective, because like his game truly can fit any course, any style.
It can.
The fact that he won a birdie fest on a wet golf course,
won a grind
at an Open where it's more. A lot of people would say it's more art than science at an Open.
Yep.
He's contended to the Masters. I think his worst finish ever at U.S. Open is like 14th.
Yeah.
Like, I know Laying Up asked an interesting question today. I don't know if you listened to them yet at all, but they were discussing who do you feel more confident in getting the career Grand Slam, Xander or Rory?
At this moment, Xander.
Yeah, it's hard not to be prisoner of the moment with that.
Yeah.
But, like, there's so much Masters scar tissue and major scar tissue.
Just in general at
with
this
Rory
point.
right now that, like, it feels like it's more likely
hurdle.
for Xander to win 2 more than it is for Rory to get 1 Masters.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to say.
It is, but I mean, that's a gigantic mental hurdle for and we've talked about that, but it feels like Xander doesn't have any mental hurdle. Like, he kind of got over his mental hurdle when he won at Valhalla. So, yeah, I would throw my money on Xander winning 2 more.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I guarantee the odds are probably like, if you put emotion into it, it probably would say the same thing, that some Vegas would probably think Xander would get 2 more before Rory got a Masters.
Yeah. Just real quick, speaking of Rory, because I'm a Rory fan, what a sad tournament. Like, just like a non-effort, really.
Yeah. After what had happened.
Yeah.
I truly thought, I'm like, after what happened, it was like, it's going to light a fire under him.
Yeah. I thought he had that dog in him.
The exact opposite.
Yeah.
It was not good. It was.
And I know there was somewhat of a wave advantage in this one, but like, either way, Justin Rose made it out of the Rory wave.
and he's one of the best talents of our lifetime, golf wise, like, and swing wise. Figure it out. Like, you just got to figure a way to make it work.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say other than that. Like, it wasn't like there weren't guys that made it out of his wave. So,
well, now we're next up is the Masters.
But I love the Royal Troon. By the way, I thought it was
Troon goes
11
hard.
is a man's hole. Like, that is the ultimate test of links golf. I mean, the railway right there. And that is like, it looks like the tightest driving hole I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's cool because obviously it's a links course. So, like, when you think tight driving holes, you think like tree lined or whatever, right? No, this is like you're hitting a blind shot or whatever over a hill.
Yeah.
And
to a very tight fairway.
And there's just gorse everywhere. There's pot bunkers, like trains coming down the tracks. Like, oh God,
that's such a cool hole. That might be one of my favorite, like, open holes. And there's a lot of good ones, but that one is truly, like, your tournament can get away from you on that hole.
Yeah, and you know what else I love is when you have like a famous hole and it lives up to the hype.
Dude,
the postage stamp.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Like,
unbelievable.
By far, probably the hardest sub 140 par 3 these guys play ever.
It has to be. Unless you get out at like maybe like 7 at Pebble if the wind is just like coming right at you or down or whatever, maybe. But like, yeah. The fact there's something called the coffin bunker on that hole. And then that's not even the bunker that everybody was like lighting themselves on fire in.
Yeah, it was and like, you woke from the tee. That green looks like there's no room.
I know.
It is like, where do you hit it? If I was standing back on that tee box, I'm like, if I knew where the middle of the green was, I'd hit it to the middle of the green, but it's kind of hard to figure out where the middle of the green is from where, like, what it looks like back on the tee.
Yeah.
That's such a good hole too.
Yeah, I think, and the thing too is like, it felt like it had been a while since we got an Open that was like the conditions, but also conditions that weren't like too much or
like stupid hard.
Yeah, so it wasn't like it laid down and all of a sudden 20 unders winning, but it also wasn't just a complete washout. And so I don't know, everything. I love the Open. I
do too.
I need next year for it not to be Stampede weekend because I really just want to. I watched a decent amount or listened to it a lot just when I could, but not being able to watch Saturday and Sunday on a track like that and
kind of stinks.
Yeah, that's the sad part. Even sadder, we picked Tony Finau for some unknown reason.
What was it, like 81?
He shot even par, and we're like, hell yeah, Tony, we're good. Like, he was in the tough wave. We're like, yes, let's go. 81 to blow the cut, just straight 10 over on the second round. And we had Xander available, of course. We discussed Xander. We're like, now we'll save him for like a playoff event or whatever. You know?
Let's save him.
Yeah, we were very bad at the majors this year.
Yeah, not good. Not good. What did we? The only one we got was who? What was our only win?
We took Scotty at the Masters.
That's right.
After we didn't use him at the Players like you wanted to. So I mean,
It cost us like $1 million.
Easily, yeah. And then I don't remember who did we take. The PGA. Did we take Brooks? No, we took Rory.
Rory.
We took Brooks at the U.S. Open, which was sad.
Yep.
And then miscut here, Tony Finau.
Damn, dude. It's so bad.
That's really bad.
We're officially out of it, probably.
Probably. I don't even know what the numbers are. I think I got them here. Hold on a sec. We are almost in 3,000th place.
Yeah, 29-39.
Yep. The leader's at 22,770,509, and we are at 8,662,961.
And we're a fresh 6 million off the money line. Yeah.
So we're going to keep firing just because that's what we're going to do, but hope is probably lost for hitting the money. Did you look at this at all for the 3M Open?
I want Billy Horschel.
Okay. I would listen to that just because obviously he played really well.
Yeah.
Did he grind too much? Are we worried about just a little bit of a
No,
jet
my guy's a
lag,
grinder.
tired?
He's a grinder.
Okay, do we like him on a bomber's track because this is the bomber's track?
I don't want to overthink it.
I want to take Akshay.
I'd be okay with that too.
Just like let him
Let's do that.
let him score.
Let's do that.
Yeah, I like Billy more in a grind or on a shorter track.
Yeah, let's do Akshay.
Okay, sorry to call you off, but I think
No,
let's do that.
that's fine. I don't want to overthink it either.
Okay, all right. Akshay Bhatia. Hopefully, he gets the second win of the year. Get him on the President's Cup team. That'd be fun.
It'd be awesome. I think it'd be a great President's Club player.
With all that said, everybody go bet Tony Finau. I don't care what his number is. He's probably the favorite.
Yeah,
you know he's going to win this week. So
yeah, he's won it like 2 times, 3 times.
At least once. I don't know about 2.
Oh,
maybe
he
2.
always seems to play well.
He does
3M.
play. Yeah. Okay, I think we're going to the patio. Although I kind of want nothing to do with
Minus
the patio beer right now.
Yeah.
You're drinking a bottle of water. I got a liquid death here. We were talking earlier.
Bad.
We may be permanently dehydrated. Like
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to recover from this.
we might we might have to go to like the IV bar.
Dude, I haven't been to get an IV in a really long time, but it feels kind of necessary at this point. Like I'm teetering with the idea of doing it.
Yeah,
I truly am.
The beers were enough, but I think we really got out of line with grabbing the stogies. That was probably not smart.
2 stogies.
Well, that was you. I had 1, and that was plenty. Plenty.
Oh, all right. I'm going to go first. This is kind of cheating because I think I already asked this question when we were talking on Thursday.
Okay.
But I feel like it needs to be public because I think it's a really good question. So I saw this on a guy did a video on Instagram. He was like, if you had 6 championships to divvy out amongst all your favorite teams, and you can give them all to one, how would you divvy it out?
Yeah, we did talk about this. I never officially.
I don't
made
think
a
you ever.
statement.
Yeah, you did not. You did
look,
not.
At the Hamilton Elks, there's a lot of air fillers. I guess I don't know how to say this. A lot of people that talk a lot. Let's put it that way. So it's hard to get a word
and
in.
about 4 of them were standing in the circle, me myself included.
Yes. So I don't know. I thought about it. I think this might sound, maybe it's a bit of a surprise. I think I'd give the Bengals 4. I want them in
4 Super Bowls is like.
I want him in the Joe Burrow era. Like I want him to get all the roses and all the credit. You know what I mean? Like I want to have a GOAT in the city. Not just a flash in the. We have a lot of flash in the pans.
Yep.
At least in our sporting.
Which
lifetime.
obviously that would solidify him as a Hall of Famer.
He'd be a Hall of Famer. We'd forever have that within our lifetime that he won us 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Like it would be sick. So I think I'd straight up just give the Bengals 4. And then I think. I'm torn between just giving the other 2 to the Reds and giving the Reds 1 and UC basketball 1. I think that's...
Split them up.
Yeah. I want to see the Reds win one in our lifetime. We were both barely even an infant when they won in 90.
I was 7 months old.
Yeah,
I
I
think.
was a little older than you, but I don't know. I think now the more that I talk about it, I kind of want to do 2 for the Reds because we talked about this is what we did talk about Thursday night. There's nothing like a winning baseball season,
dude. It's all summer.
It's all
into the fall, and you're like,
it's
our
spring
team
to
is
fall.
fucking great. Yes,
and you get to go on that whole ride. There's so much stuff that happens over 162
and dude,
games.
Playoff baseball is electric.
Yeah,
It is. Like, if you've never been to a playoff baseball game, highly suggest it because it is. I still to this day, and I was at the first Bengals playoff win, and forever. I still to this day, Game 3 against the Giants, that was the loudest stadium I've ever been in my entire life.
yeah.
I mean, it was truly a different level of like atmosphere.
Yeah, and
Because I think I said, what did I say? I said I'd give all 6 of the Reds.
Yeah,
I was like, I've seen my other teams win the championships. Like, I'd just give them all to the Reds.
Yeah.
Because that would be a wild ride.
Yeah, I think I officially want to say on the record 4 for the Bengals, 2 for the Reds.
Yeah.
And it's purely because of what you just said. And the other part, too, I would be much more likely to be at some of those games on the run.
Because like an NCAA tournament for
Yeah,
the Bearcats, like, dude, they could be playing in Phoenix. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to go out there and watch that.
No, probably
but
not.
the Reds could win the World Series in Cincinnati.
Exactly.
Like, you want to talk about electric. Like, absolutely electric.
Yes.
And I've heard my dad talk about, when they won in the 70s. He was like, dude, we just like got in our cars and went downtown.
Yeah.
It's like party in the streets. And I was like, that sounds awesome.
Right. And with a college, too, it's like, you're always going to, it's just a smaller amount of people, right? Like that it matters to.
Yeah.
Naturally. So, yeah, I think it's 4-2 for me.
And
Bengals,
like,
Reds.
and Cincinnati fans, like, if people don't know, like, Cincinnati fans are they're the saddest for sure. So, like, winning those championships would never be taken for granted.
Oh, no. It would feel so earned.
And that's why it feels good for me to, like, the Reds need all 6 of them. Because every single one would feel just as good as the first one.
Yeah.
And I've heard, like, and when Big Red Machine, it was like, when they won multiple, it was like, the second one, the first one was just as good as the second, they were all awesome,
How many do the Reds have?
Man.
Is it like 5 or 6?
I want to say 6, but I could be 100% wrong about that. Hold on.
Yeah. Excuse us while we do research on air. But yeah, I think that's the thing too. If you give the Reds 6 World Series wins on top,
they've got 5.
Yeah, they've got 5, so that puts them at 11. That's probably pretty high up on the list of
very high.
Yeah, World Series champions.
Yeah, so it was 19, 19, 40, 75, 76, 90.
Yeah. So that's the thing that I like about if we were to give the Bengals 4, that puts them in a pretty rarefied spot.
Yeah.
Because what's the most
up
is
there too.
6 or 7 is the most.
No, I think. Well, the Patriots have 6 for sure, right?
The Steelers have 6.
I thought the Steelers had 7.
I think they both have 6. I think Tom Brady has 7.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm trying to. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, him alone is the.
Okay, so yeah, 4. I mean, puts him in probably the top 3.
And the other good part about that too would be that means that Patrick Mahomes is not winning more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That would mean the Chiefs are not winning.
Yeah.
And we would all appreciate that, I think.
Exactly.
But yeah, 100% giving all mine to the Reds.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, if you're listening, let us know what your split is.
Yeah.
Send us a text down in the description of the episode. Click that link. Leave your name on it if you want us to give you a shout out. I'd love to hear how people would break that up because that was an excellent question.
Yep.
I got a dumbass question, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be an easy answer. And this is a shout out to my in-laws, siblings group chat. Every once in a while, someone will send some stupid thing in there. Someone found a tweet where it was like, if you had to survive an hour in a room with one of the following animals to win $10 million, which one would you pick? The options are an alligator, a tiger, a grizzly bear, or a lion?
I mean, it's got to be an alligator, right?
I think that's the easy answer, yeah.
Because alligators, like, for the most part, swear, like, they're more scared of you than you are of them.
I feel like it's the most likely among those to just chill, right?
Yeah, you could probably just post it up in the corner and just sit still.
Just stay out of its eyesight as best you can. Yeah.
And I don't know. I just don't think it's going to bother you.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, hey, we're both in here. Let's just not cause any trouble.
Yeah.
You know? And I think, and honestly, if it did come after you, you'd probably be the most likely that you could handle, right?
It's the easiest one to subdue.
You know, their mouth actually doesn't take a lot of pressure to hold closed.
Yep.
I feel like that's like a grizzly bear, dude. Good luck. Like, you're dead. You're so dead.
That's the last choice on this list for sure.
You're so dead.
Yeah.
Like, you
Just
hear about it, it's like
instantly disemboweled. Like,
I've seen enough National Geographic, like Alaskan, you know, documentaries to know that grizzly bears are not to be messed with.
correct. Okay, so if the alligator's off the table, tiger, grizzly, or lion?
Man, I want to say lions are probably slightly bigger than tigers on a normal basis.
Yeah.
I always feel like you see those videos, though, like people that are like lion tamers.
Yeah, and lions seem like they kind of lay around a lot.
Yeah, they're not like super aggressive.
If it's hungry, you're screwed, but like...
And I always go back to the Tiger King. Guy gets his like hand bit off trying to feed one of them, like feed a tiger.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's where I'm like, maybe a lion is next. And then a tiger, probably.
I think we have the same exact list.
Logically, that's probably... And I do feel like I've heard somewhere that tigers are more aggressive than lions.
Yeah, I could see that.
And that I feel like knowing what we know from Tiger King and stuff, like that checks out. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Unless you're like Stu in The Hangover, just singing a song. And, you know.
Oh my gosh.
What do tigers dream of? We don't know.
You will never know.
No.
But I think that's probably the order it would go in.
I think so
sure.
too. Definitely. All right. Yeah, I felt like it was time for a dumb question.
Yeah,
we didn't have any thoughtless questions, and I have very few brain cells.
I love animal questions, though.
They are interesting.
Like,
yeah.
Clay, what's his name? He used to do like Animal Thunderdome segments.
God.
For like breaking down like animal videos, like fighting and stuff.
Yeah.
Or like a human getting into it with an animal. Those were awesome. They were always so good because I'm like, it like brings up a good question. Like, if I'm in that situation, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if I told you this. Like, when I played like 3 weeks ago, I walked by this pine tree. There was this gigantic hawk in it. Dude was hissing at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and you look up and you see those claws. You're like, dude, I want nothing to do with you. Nothing.
So two things. The birds have been kind of popping off at the Elks. So
yeah.
The hawk, Guenth and I refer to him as Tony.
Yeah, Tony the Hawk.
Tony Hawk. I was walking out during league night 2 weeks ago on White with Kent. Shout out Kent. He listens. And literally Tony flies right overhead with a bunny in his talons and just like lands in the tree. And it's like, all right, I guess it's dinner time. So that was pretty slightly traumatic, honestly.
I think I saw Tony about 2 months ago during Wednesday Night League on 9 Blue. Okay, it was so funny. We're playing with this guy. I'll leave his name out. Doesn't matter for the story. We're like walking up the cart path, and this gigantic hawk comes flying out of the trees. It was a snake, but the guy goes, oh, he got himself a worm. I'm like, that is not a worm, bro. That is like a 6 foot long snake, and he's just carrying him, dude.
Wild.
Like, it was, dude. Hawks are like peak predators.
Yeah. So, and during the Stampede, our second match over on the blue course, 2 bald eagles flew over us on our first hole.
Yeah, we've got
There's an eagle's nest a little bit away from the course.
We've got some like endangered animals out there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it was pretty sick seeing 2 bald eagles
There's
fly
some
over.
good trees out there, though, for them to kind of like post up in.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to get shot, which you shouldn't be shooting a bald eagle or a hawk anyway, unless you're a scumbag. But yeah, I've not seen the bald eagles, but I think there's Tony. And then there's like another hawk.
There is another hawk, yep.
And I think the other one was the one that caught the worm, the snake.
Yeah.
But
Tony hangs out on white most times, I think. Usually I see him around white 4, and that's where I saw him that day. So.
Yep, yeah. Dude, we need to have a discussion one day about peak predators. I could go on days for about orcas. Dude, they are peak hunters.
That's a nasty animal.
They're nasty, dude.
Yeah, Free Willy is that is
a setup.
That is a setup for sure.
I've seen enough videos of orcas, making a wave for ice floating in the ocean and knocking seals off on purpose, to eat them. They're like, oh, we can't hop up there, but we'll just make a big wave and you'll slide off, and then you're dead.
There's been a few orca incidents lately. I feel like I've seen on social media of just coming after boats and shit now, and yeah.
Free Willy is a definite setup.
Free Willy is a fraud.
Fake news.
He's a fraud.
Yeah.
All right. Quick. Almost forgot about the fan mail segment. All right. So a couple people sent us texts. Shout out to all you that did. We got 3 of them. One I know is from Hinkle. Shout out to Hinkle. He was responding to Guenth's question about dream jobs, and he said game show host, which I thought was
which I think is I didn't even cross my mind, but that is a great job.
I think to your guys' point last week, you were talking about being a late night talk show host. I'd rather be a game show host than a late night.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Dude, and they get paid stupid money too. I think they probably make more than the late night talk show host.
Yeah.
At one point, Howie that did the Deal or No Deal, dude was making $1.5 an episode.
Yeah, that's stupid.
For what? 30 minutes, hour, probably with makeup and everything, 2.5, 3 hours of work.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
I'm thinking about Bob Barker, how long he did that.
Dude.
Pat Sajak on Wheel of Fortune.
And
Alex
they're legends.
Trebek.
Dude, they're legends too. I know there's night talk show hosts that are legends too, but feels like there's more.
I kind of think it's probably dying that genre and that.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to have anybody like a Bob Barker of.
The only other one is the guy who does Price is Right now.
Drew Carey.
Drew Carey. He's the youngest of the ones that but he kind of took over a legendary show too.
Exactly, that's the thing.
It's not something he built on his own. Bob Barker built Price is Right.
Yeah.
He made it,
Definitely.
Pat Sajak, Wheel of Fortune. He made Wheel of Fortune.
Trebek.
So.
I don't think I've watched a Jeopardy episode since he's passed away.
Once he was gone, I'm I'm out.
Yeah.
And I love Jeopardy.
Me too.
So.
Yeah, I thought that was a good answer.
It's a dying form for sure.
I think so too, sadly. Not sure who sent this one in, but when we had the conversation about reliving sports moments or whatever, I don't think whoever sent this in necessarily picked one, but a few they brought up. They also brought up the UC Pitt game, what I had mentioned, and they were talking about if Ndamukong Suh just doesn't chase down Colt McCoy, the clock would expire and UC would have gone to the national championship. So that was one that he was kind of lamenting, I guess. Also made a comment that his buddy living across the hall from him did a full Kramer at the end of the game. And then also mentioned the 2019 Masters, said if they never played another Masters again, they would have been okay with that. So I was like, hey,
I don't hate that. On. Yeah, no, that's actually, I mean, think about the Masters since that one. They've been okay.
Yeah.
That one was just so good on so many levels.
Right.
Yeah. I like that one.
And then, so this one's a bit of a question that we need to answer. Again, not sure who this is from, but I'll just read the text. It says, I'm not a golf guy, so forgive my ignorance, but can you explain the Ryder Cup to me? It seems kind of pointless to have the U.S. against the entire EU. Take the Davis Cup, for example. It is truly the World Cup of tennis since it's country versus country. Again, I recognize my lack of knowledge of the history and tradition of it. At first, the Ryder Cup was U.S. versus Great Britain and Ireland. It was only that.
Yep.
And then eventually, at one point, I guess they added in the rest of the EU. I don't know. Do you have any specific thoughts here? Or?
I don't know the complete history around it.
Yeah.
I just think at the moment when it became an event, there were really no golfers in South Africa, Well,
that's not in the EU, but...
No, but I'm just saying, internationally wise, where they could have done, hey, country versus country. It was the golfers were mostly United States and really not even outside of Great Britain and Ireland. It was like it was those two places, and that was it.
Yep.
And then you have your Sevies come along, and Bernhard Longer is so old now, and like you could even throw him in the mix of like German. So like I think really what it was boiled down to is like you only had golfers from like those two areas.
Yeah.
Like Japan couldn't have gotten a team together, right? Like if you were to go internationally, like exactly. I think that's why it's like there's not like a World Cup of golf.
Yeah, and that's why the President's Cup exists as like the rest of the world versus US outside of Europe.
Yeah, which is not as old as the Ryder Cup because the rest of the world golf-wise didn't really come along and probably, and I could be 100% wrong with that, but just thinking back to like some of the names, like probably not until like the 50s and 60s. And really probably not prominently until like the 70s.
No, I mean, if you can go back to just thinking along the lines of the majors, like the Open Championship, like the American players did not go over and play the Open.
Yeah. I mean, like you had
like Arnold Palmer was like the first to really start doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you had like Bobby Jones and stuff would go over there and play. Walter Hagen was not but he won. I think he was the first American to win multiple of them.
Yeah.
God, I'm drawing a blank on the first American's name to win the Open, but
I'm going to throw one out there. Is it Bobby Locke? Is that?
That sounds right.
I don't know. That could be wild speculation. Sorry.
But what I'm saying, yeah. So like you had like your spare like US's best amateur would go over and play the Open.
Yeah.
Which hence like Bobby Jones went and did that, right? But yeah, I think that's really what it boiled down to. I just think to do some kind of World Cup of golf back in like when the Ryder Cup came along, they went. There might have been like there have been like 5 countries that were represented by golfers.
Yeah, and you had, I mean, truly, like if you just think governing body wise, like the USGA and the RNA. Were kind of like the two focal points of golf, and
they still kind of are for the entire world, right?
And the PGA of America has kind of ascended to that kind of same level, and so like that, I think was why, and they probably eventually had the idea of like, okay, we need to get more of these like best players in the world together, like the majors do. So probably expanding to the whole EU.
Yeah, and if you think about like South Africa, right? I know it's not in the EU, but like. They were probably one of the first countries outside of Europe to like really.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe them and like
Australia.
Korea or in maybe Australia, but like, dude, I mean, Gary Player is known as like the father of golf in South Africa.
Yeah,
and he's still alive, so that wasn't that long ago. So, in retrospect, it's not that long ago in the grand scheme of things, but I think that's probably more in line, and that's why I love that they finally have golf in the Olympics.
Yeah,
it's not a team sport, but I think it's cool
more representation on the global stage.
Yeah, and you'll see guys like I don't know like all the countries that are represented in the golf, but like I bet you'll probably have some like African country that'll have a golfer, and you're like don't know who this guy is.
Yeah,
so
for sure,
which is. Pretty cool. I'm sure if you follow like the Asian tour and stuff, you'll probably run across some people from Africa or Middle Eastern country that has a golfer, literally a golfer.
Yeah,
that's good enough to play on a world stage. But yeah, I think that's probably realistically why the Ryder Cup was the way it was, and not some kind of like world event.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. All right, we got through it.
That's my dude. I feel lightheaded.
The brain fog is very real.
It's so real.
If we misspoke tonight, I apologize. If we'll come back next week with a little more pep in the step. But look, it was a long weekend. We already covered that, but
you like right before we came on, you witnessed me like gag as I looked at a Miller Lite box.
Yeah, it's still sitting here.
That was a legit gag too, by the way.
It's
like
kind of making me a little uncomfortable looking at it again.
Staring at us.
Yeah, it's always watching.
Like he's like, you want some? I'm like, no, I don't actually.
No,
not this time.
Oh man. All right. Well, goodbye to Stampede 2024. Looking forward to next year already. Thank you everybody for listening. Please subscribe, rate, and review the show. Follow us on social media at Back96Back. And hey, feel free to send us a text. We'd love to shout some people out and answer some more questions. So until then, cheers.
See ya. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Back 9 Six Pack. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Back 9 Six Pack for all your content needs. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers.